Welcome back to Zach's Garage. In today's episode, what we're going to be doing is finishing installing things in the boat and finally getting it ready to take to the lake. So don't go anywhere. We got a lot of ground to cover. So let's just jump right into it. First thing we're going to go ahead and install is these Ubolts that go on the back of the boat. And to make sure these have a nice watertight seal, I'm going to be using some 3M 4000 marine adhesive. Next up is installing the transom assembly, and you can see there was some surface rust on the bolts from the old rotten transom. And so to protect the bolts from rust in the future, I'm going to go ahead and coat them using that same 3M 4000 adhesive. I decided to also use the adhesive to make a generous bead around the entire transom seal just to be sure that it won't leak any water in here. Alright, now that we've got the transom assembly installed, one thing I did is I went around the edges with that 3M 4000 adhesive and I caulked the entire edge. I don't want to chance a darn thing. I don't want any water penetrating anywhere on this. So I got it all the way around, especially on the bottom. So that way we really are making sure that this is watertight, water sealed. So I think that's about the best I can do for that. But anyways, now that we've got the transom assembly installed back on there, we are ready to go ahead and get the engine hoist moved back over here and put the engine back in the boat. One mistake I made last time I installed the engine was that I put the engine in here, and then after I had it in, I tried to install this exhaust pipe piece, but which it connects down to there. The problem was, once the engine was in, there's not enough room to get that installed. So I'm not going to make that same mistake again. So I'm going to go ahead and install that right now before I try to get the engine put in. Alright, the exhaust pipe is on. So now we are ready to go ahead and wheel the engine around and get it installed. Alright, we've got the engine up as high as it can go on the hoist, and it's just going to be enough to slide it over that back ledge. So we're about halfway there, just going to finish getting it in now. Alright, well, we got the engine installed once and for all. I mean, hopefully I'm praying I don't have to get this engine hoist back out. Hopefully we don't need to do it for at least another 50 years, I'm hoping. I want to be a grandpa by the time I have to take this engine out again, because fingers crossed we're going to take care of this boat best we can, and going to take care of this engine best we can to make it last. I ought to be able to get, I don't know, at least $1,000 out of it, I'd say, after reboring the cylinders. I mean, replacing everything that needs to be replaced. It ought to last a long time. Alright, so we've got the engine installed in the boat, and what I just finished doing was installing the exhaust riser piece on it. And the next thing I'm going to work on is getting this battery box mounted down to the mounting plate there. So I just went ahead and I drilled 2 holes, you can see diagonally in the bottom of it, and then I'm going to line up those holes on here and then drill 2 pilot holes into this piece, so then I'll be able to screw it down to that. Alright, so we've got the battery mounting holder thing fastened down and it is secure. So the next one I'm going to go ahead and do is the trim pump on this side. Well, looking at the trim pump, where it mounts is super rusted. So I'm going to go ahead and get that cleaned off by putting it in some evapor rust. And then looking at the old mounting bolts that went to it, these are also super rusted. So I think for those, I'm going to go ahead and go to Tractor Supply to get some stainless steel ones instead. So I'm going to go ahead and get that in here. Got it in, and now to head on over to Tractor Supply. Well, in here looks like the size we have. Oh, and there is the bolt from the trim pump. And we've got a few replacements, the exact same size. And I already went ahead and grabbed 4 of them, as well as some washers. So now to go ahead and get back to the garage. And we're back at the house now. Got our bolts here. Went ahead and took the pump out. And it cleaned up a bit. It's kind of dark still. Still deciding what I want to do with that. I think I want to repaint. Well, I decided to go ahead and I'm going to take the trim pump off of the little metal mount here, and I'm going to sand this completely down and repaint it. There's just a lot of areas where it's starting to chip off and it's rusting, and if I just go ahead and put it in the boat, it's just going to rust more and more over the years, when I have a chance right now to go ahead, sand it down, get all the rust off, get a fresh coat of paint on that'll last for years. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. The only downside is it just means I'm not going to get it in the boat tonight, but I'll get it in tomorrow. That'll be good to go. Okay, we got the pump itself disconnected. Now we've just got to unscrew all these wires here from the side of this, and then we'll have it all apart. Alright, now all that stuff is off, we can go ahead and start sanding this down on all the rusted parts and then getting it ready to paint. Well, we got this bad boy sanded down pretty good. There is still some stuff left though, but overall we got all the loose paint chips off. Got a lot of it sanded pretty good, especially around the edges. That seems to be where it liked to chip the most. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to set this back in the evapor rust, and we're going to let it chill overnight to get the rust completely off of the bottom of it. So then tomorrow morning I'll be able to take it out and give it a gander and hopefully get it painted. After the piece had set in the evapor rust for a few hours, then I went ahead and I pulled it out and put a coat of primer on it. And now I have it drying in front of the heater. And for painting it, I'm just reusing the same primer and enamel paint that I had left over from the engine. Alright, we got the top coat on here. Now we're just going to let it dry overnight. Looks pretty good. Especially down here at the bottom, which is what I cared about the most. Can't even tell there was rust there now. That's what we like to see. Alright, we let this bad boy set overnight in front of the heater, and it is pretty dry. It's not tacky to the touch. Even though the paint can said that it may take 7 days to fully cure, I can tell you guys, I'm not waiting 7 days to finish this boat. We are putting this in today. I just got to make sure not to scrape up the paint too bad. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is hook back up that trim pump to this mounting plate, and then I'm going to get this bolted down into position in the boat. Alright, well, we got the pump mounted back to the metal bracket, so now let's go ahead and get the holes drilled over here to screw this down to the deck. Alright, well, we've got the trim pump fastened down now. It is secure. It's not going anywhere. So I guess we can go ahead and get the hoses to it hooked up. Alright, we finished getting these hoses on here. I did use some Teflon tape on the threads to make sure no oil leaks out once we start running the motor to power things up. I did go ahead and already got all the wiring hooked up as well. Positive battery cable, negative, and the wire harness to the throttle controls. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do next is get this steering cable hooked back into the transom assembly. Alright, we got the steering cable into place. As you can see, I had to undo this to get it behind that, as well as this wire. And one other thing is, it's kind of up against the top of the trim pump here. So hindsight's 20/20 on that. I guess I should add the trim pump a little more to the side. Alright, well, I think it is time for us to get the outdrive put back on the back of the boat. Well, it seems I have made the fatal mistake of, while I was paint spraying the boat, a little bit leaked through the transom hole, and I had this cardboard box covering it, but this outdrive was back here, and you can see we got our white paint speckled all over it. That is not dust, that is paint. So I guess now what I need to do is get some acetone and see if I can get some of this off. Alright, we got that crap cleaned off of it. You can see the speckles are gone. Amazing what a little bit of acetone can do. And I'm just going to go ahead and install it now. And I've got the new gasket right here, ready to go. We'll have to make sure we're careful with that, not to booger it up. This is what happened to the old one last time I was putting the outdrive on. Obviously, we don't want that to happen again, so gotta be careful with this guy. Look at that, fits perfectly. Now we don't want to forget to put all of our O-rings on. So we've got this one here goes on the water pump. This one here goes inside there where the U-joint shaft goes. And then these two actually go on the drive shaft on the U-joint. Alright, let's get this bad boy on. Okay, I wanted to share with you guys a little trick real quick. Now, right before I got it to this point, it was a little further out and it was stuck. And there is a very specific way to get it past that. What it was stuck on was the drive shaft splines not lining up with the engine. So what you do to fix that is you put your propeller on, make sure you're still in forward gear. You'll know because you won't be able to go that way. And without it slipping out of gear, you push it back that way, turning it, which now mine's out of gear. So to fix that, it's kind of hard to reach, but you can put your hand up in here to get the shift lever straight, and then you hold it while turning this. Now I'm locked back into forward, but I turned it that other way, and right as I did, this whole thing just slid forward. So that's what you do for that, guys. Now I'm gonna finish getting this slid on the rest of the way. Alright, we got it on all the way. Now I'm gonna tighten on the nuts to these bolts all around the sides there. Alright, bolts are tightened down now. So now next thing I'm gonna go ahead and do is get these trim rams hooked back up here. Alright, we finished getting the trim rams hooked up here. So now let's go ahead and get the throttle hooked up and then raise up this outdrive so I can hook up the speedometer hose on the back of it. Now adjusting the calibration on the trim cinders can be a bit tricky, and you might want a friend to help you with this part because it is going to be difficult for you to look at the gauge on the dashboard while trying to adjust it on the outdrive at the back of the boat at the same time. And after fiddling around with those trim cinders, I finally had the calibration just right, and I gotta say it was pretty cool finally watching the outdrive go up and down for the first time. Now what I'm gonna do next for this bad boy is change the drive oil. So that goes there, and then there's another one down here somewhere, I believe. Yep, right here. So that's actually where you pump it in at, and then you wait till it starts coming out up here. And here is the gear lube oil we've got, as well as 2 new O-rings and the pump for it. Let's go ahead and get it going. Well, it looks like the old girl had a little bit left in her. She's still, oh God, it's starting, oh God. Oh, come on. Maybe I need to raise up the outdrive. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's getting everywhere. Good God. Alright, we got our pump hooked up here. Now we just got to put the pump inside our new oil jug. And now we just start pumping away. And then we just keep doing it till we see it start to get right up to that top pole. And that's how you know it's done, once it starts leaking out that top hole. So I went ahead and put the cap on there. I used all of this first one and just a little bit of the second container, so the rest of y'all I guess can plan on using about that much as well. It's kind of cool, you can see the nice blue color of the new oil compared to the like super black coffee color of the old. So now the trick is going to be getting this one out without leaking. I also went ahead and sealed up this drain plug with some 3M 4000 to make sure it was really waterproof around the seal there. I also got the inside of it as well. Deluxe sports seat, white and blue. I think this thing's been sitting in the bedroom for too long, buddy. It's time to get it out of here. There we go. That's more like it. Now we just gotta get it out of the box in here. Oh man, these are my favorite pillows right here. The best. Gotta go put those in the living room. Ah, yes, that just really finishes the couch nicely. Gives it a real nice environment in here. But now let's get this bad boy out of the box. Oh man, look how pretty she is. Now we just gotta get this bad boy in the boat. There we go. Now we're talking. You know, I'm no doctor, but I think something's missing here. There we go. I knew something was missing. Now we got it just right how it should be. I even went ahead and found a new place for the other seat. Something tells me that might not be the right spot though. Alright, we're getting pretty close to being ready now to go ahead and take her for a test drive. Just got a few things left. I went ahead, I got the shift cables on here and the throttle cable all hooked up. I do still need to build myself a little mounting plate for the throttle here. Remember the old siding piece that went along there? It's completely rotten at the bottom and it's just crumbling, so I don't want to bring that back into the boat. So I'm just going to build a new piece right now. Eventually I'm going to rebuild that, but that's another story. Let's see what else. I need to go ahead and get the gas tank hoses hooked up as well as the sensor wires. And here is going to be my cable management for getting those wires over to the side to make sure they're away from the engine. I've got this piece right here that used to be screwed in. You can see I've just got some of that 3M4000 holding it in right there, and it holds it in more than good enough. So that's all you need to do. You don't need to screw holes into your stringers to let them rot. Not today. So I do need to do that. The other seat I put up there. I need to get the pedestal cut for this one so that it'll be lower. So right now it's too high with where that steering wheel sits. So I got it over there, got to cut that. And I got to get this ignition changed out. Let me show you all the new one real quick. Here's our new one right here. It's basically the same thing. And it's the Sierra brand. There was a few others I saw on Amazon that were a little bit cheaper, but some pictures people had posted, they rust. So I wanted to make sure that this one was rust resistant, corrosion resistant. We don't want it ever rusting. Alright, that's what we need to do. So let's get to it. So here is yet another thing we had to replace. We got a new bilge pump. Here is the old one. You can see is in pretty bad shape. Honestly, I would have kept it and just cleaned it up, but it wouldn't run. The motor was burned out on it. So I just went ahead and got a new one. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to get this bad boy installed in the boat. So you see where the holes used to be? There's one there, and then here that I got a screw started in. Of course, with the new bilge pump, see those little slits for the holes for the new screws to go in? Of course, it doesn't line up with the old ones, so we got to do new holes. But with the engine installed, I can't get my drill in there to be able to drill straight up and down. And I don't have one that's like a right angle bit or something like that, so what I'm gonna do is just reuse one of the old holes and just get at least one screw in this thing to hold it down. And that'll be good enough for now, and we might fix that later if we have to. Boy, I tell you, hindsight's 20/20. I should have just installed this thing before I put the engine into the boat, but wasn't thinking about that, but too late now. So we're gonna get it in one way or another. Got the new bilge pump wired up. Used some of this heat shrink wrap And now I'm just going to go ahead and blast it with the heat gun, and we'll make a real nice tight seal on that. And just like that, a really nice seal on there. So now I'm going to go ahead and get that pump tightened into position. Okay, we got the bilge pump locked in there. Got all the cables sort of tied to the side there. Also got the fuel tank sensor all hooked up over here. Gas hoses are hooked up like I showed earlier. Now we just got to install that new key ignition, get the throttle mounted, get the new seat mounted, and we'll be ready to go. Alright, I'm cutting down this seat pedestal. You can see where I got the blue masking tape mark. That's where I'm going to cut it. I've got the cut started there. I'm just going to finish it all the way around. Then I'll have to drill these holes for the little thing that goes through it afterwards. Well, now that we got this piece cut down from the pedestal, this other piece that slides inside of it, now it also has to be cut down so that it's able to go down all the way. Alright, we got this seat pedestal ready to go. It took some work, but we got it in the end, so let's go ahead and get it in the boat. Alright, we've got both seats in ready to go, and you can see on the pedestal for that one how it's shorter than that one is. And that's so you can get your legs under the steering wheel, because otherwise it would be a little too tall. Even that still isn't that much space there. But that's pretty awesome. We got that in now. Now we just gotta get that throttle mounted right there. Alright, we just finished getting that throttle mounted there. And let me tell you guys, holy cow, that took a long time. You can see I had to cut out a new wood plate for that. And getting the throttle mounted to it and all the holes drilled in the plate just right took forever. As you can see, it is getting late on me, so missed going to the lake today, but I think we're going to be ready to go first thing tomorrow. What I want to go ahead and do is get all this cleaned up, get all my mess out of the boat, and get it ready to go now. Alright, well now that we've got everything put back in the boat, it's time to do a little test here in the driveway to find out if she's actually gonna run now. Give her a little juice there. This is the moment of truth. That is where we are going to end today's video, guys. It is pretty crazy. We are at this point. The boat is functionally done. There's still some things I want to add on, but we are ready to take it to the lake, and I cannot wait any longer. So stay tuned for the next video, because I bet you that's what we're doing. But I want to say thank you guys for watching, and if you're still watching the video at this point, 30 minutes in, a huge thank you to you, and please consider leaving a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. But that is going to do it for today. I will see you guys next time.